Today's video we're gonna take a little different direction. I also, like I mentioned maybe before, I build knives, sheaths and whatnot. Sheaths. So today we're gonna build a knife. We're gonna make a knife from an antique saw blade. These are genuine antique blades. I only make my knives out of recycled or repurposed material, saw blades. I make them out of old files, whatnot. I've used carpenter squares. So this is all my stuff's hand done or handmade. There's no lathe. There's no plasma cutter. Everything's done by hand. You can see, I'll show my little workshop a little bit. Everything's done, as I said, by hand. I've got my small drill press. You know, I got a series of belt sanders. At these two I need to get some belts for. Band saws. I have an old school drill press here that I like to use. My forge is a old water tank that I've converted to a forge. I have my anvils or whatever. Then I also have my sanding area over here, my grinding and sanding area. We're gonna make today I have all of these I've cut out by hand and drawn by hand. These are my knife designs that I've hand drawn. Every single one of these is a hand drawn knife. So these are just some of the ones that I do. So I have another one that I call the Skinner. I can't seem to find that one anywhere. It's a pretty popular knife. This one here is of my own design. So also what I do is, as you can see the points here on the blade, the points become the tip of the knife. So let's take this one here for example. What I'll do is I will come in here and I will line this up as best I can, like so, and then this sawtooth becomes the point of the blade. Kind of repurposes it. Everything is hand beaten. I'm going to trace one of these out. I'm not sure which one I want to make today. So I also, most of my handles are made out of antlers. I really like that look. They seem to be really popular. I'm not really into the two-piece scales and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I have made knives like that, but for me, I prefer the antler handles. I like using brass guards. I use shells and whatnot in the handles, stuff like that. I have a couple knives that I made being a Harley guy. I've got some knives that I've made using engine parts from Harleys. I've got a couple knives I've used the connecting rods. I've used the rod bearings for brass guards or rings on them. So let me choose what knife I'm going to do here, and then I will kind of show you how I go about cutting it out, and then we'll get it ready for, I'm heating the forge up now. We will get it ready for the forge, and I'll show you how, these are all cut out by hand again with a die grind or with a 4-inch grinder and a cutoff wheel. So every single one's just a little bit different. Like I said, I have these shapes that I do, that I've cut out, that I've made, but every one is a little bit different by the time I get done with it, just due to the fact that they are all cut out individually by hand. So as you can see, what I did was I spray painted. Sometimes I trace, sometimes the spray paint works okay. Kind of a mess a little bit though, I think. So we're going to get to cutting this out. What I'll do is do a rough cut around it. Then I will come in. This piece here won't be this big. That'll be, I usually leave extra stock on here depending on the size of the antler that I'm using. So not really sure which one I'm going to use today. I got some pretty big pieces here. Some of these I usually leave the twist in them. Gives each knife its own special feel. Some knives feel better in the right, some feel better in the left. The knife kind of tells me what it's going to do and how it's going to be. So let's get this. Again, I'm only filming with my phone, much as I did with the 883 that I'm building. So we'll cut this out quick. I'll show you what I end up with, and then we'll take it down from there. See if I can hopefully get this video time lapse. So, as you can see, I just got the rough cut. I'll go in now and I'll clamp it to my workbench here, and I will take this piece, some of this out here, up in here, cut this piece out for the handle, and then we will probably anneal it in the forge. See how this is hardened steel. We'll get it soft. It'll be a little bit easier for my bevels on it, put a little more shape in it, and then we can quench after. So as we can see, I've got my blank all cut out here, the basic shape. What I'll do now is I'll probably take it to the grinder and grind off that little spot up here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the forge. And my knives are all rustic knives, meaning that I don't make shiny knives. What I will do is I'll take my ball, I'll heat it up red hot, and I'll get my ball peen in here on both sides, and I will peen up around this area, actually almost all this area. And then when I put the bevels and make the blade, what I'll have is a nice peened look. That'll give it a really nice rustic look. Most of this will be black once it comes out of the forge, and the quench gives it a really nice rustic look. So let me get this thing in the forge, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done with that. So my shape is cut out. I'm ready to throw it in the forge now. We're gonna do, what I'll do is I'll get it red hot and let it cool. Some guys do that 2-3 times, called thermocycling. I usually only do it once. I get the steel soft enough to where I can put my bevels on it and be able to work the handle a little bit easier. So that's where we're at right now. The shape is a pretty good one. As you can see, I have that notch. Camera focus here. See, I have that notch in there. I will accentuate that a little bit with a hand file once it's softer. So we're ready to start putting some hammer marks in this. So what I'll do is I'll come through with the ball peen end and I'll just give it some wraps like so. And you have to flip it due to the fact that you're distressing this metal a bit and you are causing it to be somewhat no longer flat. So the best way to do this is to give it a couple good ones on each side, like so. You can see the hammer marks, and then put it back in the forge. You don't want to beat the metal when it's gray like that too much, as you can cause stress fractures.